Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, the show about building a healthier relationship with modern technology. Now here are your hosts, R. Blank and Stefanie Warner.
Stefanie Broes is the CEO and co-founder of Moonbird, a health tech startup active in the well-being space. Moonbird is the world's first handheld breath pacer and is all about making breathwork accessible to let people live healthier and happier lives. The product is used to decrease stress, manage anxiety, and combat insomnia. Stefanie has a medical background, a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences, and a master's in IP and data protection law. Her own insomnia is what drove her to dive in and learn the effectiveness of breathing exercises. This is why Moonbird exists, to make breathwork accessible, cool, and convenient. Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, Stefanie.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Oh no, it's a pleasure. Okay, so to start the interview, I'm going to say that your product, which I've now been using for about 3 weeks, it represents two things that immediately turn me off. So one is it's using technology to help me do something that I think I should be able to do on my own, like breathing. And two, it's an additional source of EMF in my life. And I try to avoid those, especially those that pair with my phone and force me to use my phone. So I was predisposed to dislike your Moonbird product. So my opening question to you is, how did you win me over so much that I love my Moonbird?
That's you want to know why you like it?
Yeah, tell me, what did you do? It's
he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He talks about it almost every day.
Yeah.
Well, I could ask the question to you then. So there are many things that I like about Moonbird, and I hope that those are the same for you. And the first and most important one for me, at least, and I think for thousands of customers at the moment, is that it works. It's an intuitive way of guiding your breath. And I totally get on what you say, like, do we really need another piece of technology for something that we are already doing all the time? But I guess that's just us being humans, right? We need some extra support once in a while. We need to go to the gym in order to work out. We need to go to a doctor once we break our arm. And so the same holds true for breathing exercises. I actually teach people how to breathe and give workshops around this topic. And still, when I'm really stressed or panicked, or when I'm lying awake in my bed and I can't fall asleep, I still grab my Moonbird.
Yeah, I think one of the things, because I'm still trying to, like I said, I use it every day. And I just want to be clear to everybody, I am not being paid to anyone who listens to this show knows that I'm not like a shill, and I'm not being paid to say this. I really love this product, and every time I use it, I try to think of why I love it. I think one of the things that may be most obvious to me is that I don't have to keep count in my head, and that allows, right? Because if you're trying to do a specific breathing pattern, and it's 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, and to do that correctly over 5 minutes takes concentration. To do it over 20 minutes takes a lot of concentration. With the Moonbird, I don't have to do that at all, right? Because, and we should explain this to people, and if you're listening on iTunes or whatever, you can come over to YouTube and see it. I'm holding it, and it's this awesome little device. And what it does is it expands when you're supposed to inhale, and it contracts when you're supposed to exhale. So, and through the app, you can you can use some of the presets, or you can set it yourself, how long you want the inhale to be and how long you want the exhale to be. And then you can just let it go, right? And you don't have to keep count in your head. And that, because I was joking a little, only a little, about how I was predisposed to dislike this product. But when your agent reached out to me, I had been actively working on breathing exercises in the morning for the past several months. And so that's why I was like, oh, well, this sounds interesting. Let me try it. And I was really able to jump up from like 8 minutes to 20 minutes in a session, no problem. And it just felt so much easier. And now I realize I am not asking you any questions. So let me ask you a question. So this is going to sound a little sarcastic and a little idiotic at the same time, which is kind of my specialty. Why is breathing important?
Well, we all do it the whole time. We do it ever since we're born up until the day we die. But we do it in a passive way, like we never think too much about it. And we don't know what kind of a powerful tool it actually is once you master it and once you get to learn your breath. It can both inform you on how you're doing when your breathing rate is elevated and more shallow. Maybe you're stressed. Maybe this is a signal that something is stressing you out. And at the same time, it's a tool you can actively change your breathing patterns and then elicit immediate effects. And that's what I just found that super powerful to come to that realization. And I was just surprised that a lot of people nowadays like to meditate and like to explore this territory. And I myself, I do it too. But the breath is like not exposed in the same way as meditation is. While it's for me, it's the next big thing. It's as powerful as meditation can be, and maybe it's even easier because you can just do breathing exercises within a couple of seconds. Actually, within a couple of minutes, you'll start to feel effects. While with meditation, it takes for ages. It's such a difficult technique to master. And don't get me wrong, I love it. It's just I've been doing it for 5 years, and I still think that I'm a beginner because it's a really complex technique to master. And with breathwork, it's so easy to start with it, and everybody can actually do it. You just have to learn how to do it.
So can you explain the kind of the mission behind Moonbird and how it's working to promote like healthier technology use?
So we founded the company really to make breathwork more available to people. And I myself used a lot of apps and tools and so on to guide my own breathing, to help with my own insomnia. But I struggled with using apps in bed, for instance, or my best friend struggled to use apps when she was having a panic attack because you don't want to be on your phone at such a moment. And it's too difficult to do the breath counting on your own when you're having a panic attack because you're just completely freaking out and whatever. So we wanted to build a new form factor and wrap breathing guidance in a new form factor, you can say. And the idea was born on the fact that I thought of a mom breathing with a baby on her chest and cradling the baby to sleep, and the baby feeling how the mother is breathing, and then actually it calms the baby down because they connect with the mom and they're like reassured. They have this physical sense of touch, and the mom is really guiding the baby through her own breath and through this skin contact. And so I wanted to mimic this guidance by developing a physical tool that guides you through motion, just like a mom cradles her baby to sleep. And that's basically the idea of the device. But us as a company, we want to make breathwork available in all sorts of form factors and services and so on. So right now, this is our first product. And over the next coming years, I hope we can develop other products, other services, expand the app, and also guide people through different ways, like organizing courses, having a lot of content in the application and so on, to really be able to reach everybody with this simple mission, actually, that you can use your breath as a tool to calm yourself down, to fall asleep, to regulate your anxiety, and so on.
Your talk about the form factor, because I'm someone who designs products also, not nearly as high tech as yours, but I have to say, because also yours wasn't the only product that I got for evaluation at the same time. I got it, and so I opened my Moonbird, and then I opened this other product, and I have to say, it feels like your execution on this has been really high level. I mean, holding the Moonbird is a very nice experience, but unboxing the box is a nice experience. Loading the app was very simple. There's no complex pairing process. You just load the app and then you shake the Moonbird, and then it's like done. So I just have to compliment you on the execution of the design, I think. And I think that helps make it a more pleasant experience for people.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I'll make sure to pass the comments to the team, because we've got an amazing team that's working on that. And my brother as well, who's my co-founder, Michael, and he's the CTO and CFO of the company. And he's just such an intelligent and incredible person. And he's the one who said, I don't want any button on the device. So he invented the wake and shake principle, that indeed you just shake the Moonbird, you put your thumb on the sensor, and it starts breathing for you in a very natural and intuitive way. And that also you don't have to think about turning it off when you're in bed and you want to practice the breathing exercises, which comes in very handy, because if I'm in my bed and I'm doing my breathing exercise with Moonbird, I don't have to think about, oh, I'll have to wake up again to turn off my Moonbird, because then my mind is just racing and I won't stop worrying about that. So blah, blah, blah. It creates another struggle before falling asleep. And that's my brother who did that.
Cool. Yeah, but I mean, as you become more successful as an entrepreneur, you should realize to take credit for everything yourself. But we'll skip past that for now. So right, that's a feature I didn't mention earlier, which has this little sensor on one side, which is where you're designed to hold your thumb, and the things that it measures are your heart rate and your HRV. And HRV, and I know what heart rate is. HRV, I am not an expert on. I hear a lot about it. I hear a growing amount about it, but I have not studied it so much. One thing that I thought was interesting, so A, if you could define HRV for people, and then B, I was a little surprised that the app was encouraging me to maximize my HRV. I would have assumed I'd want to minimize my HRV. So can you explain to people what HRV is and why I should want to increase it?
Yes, it feels a bit counterintuitive or unnatural indeed to increase a parameter. But actually our HRV is a health marker, and the higher your HRV, the better. It means that you're resilient, you can cope with stress, your performance is good, and so on. So a high HRV is actually what you really want. And HRV itself is heart rate variability. And when a lot of people think about heart rate, they think that our heart rate, our heart beats like a metronome. So like if it's 60 beats per minute, it's a heartbeat every second. But in reality, our heartbeat is it's irregular. So it goes like faster and then slower again, and faster and slower again. And these natural variations between consecutive heartbeats is what we call heart rate variability. And it's healthy and it's good, because it means that your nervous system can switch between different situations in the body. So you want your heart rate to have a lot of variability between heartbeats, because then your body is like responding optimally to everything that's happening in your body. And one of the processes that impacts this variety is our breath. So when we breathe in, our heart rate rises. When we breathe out, our heart rate decreases. And so this is you can with this actually train your heart rate variability. When you do slow breathing exercises, like breathing really slow, what you do with a Moonbird, you maximize this variability between heart rates. You get really intense variations when you breathe in and really intense variations when you breathe out. So you really train your HRV in a short moment of time. You can also do that by sporting and going outside, working out, but that just takes a lot of effort. You need to go out to sport. And you need to put on specific gear and whatever. So breathing exercise is like a very intense and short exercise for your heart, actually.
Yeah, no. And then there was this other metric in the app called coherence. So can you talk a little bit about coherence and why we should care about that?
Yeah. So when you breathe really slowly, what I just mentioned is that your heart rate will synchronize with your breath, actually. This is what physiologists call cardiorespiratory coupling. And it means that your heart rate is in complete synchronicity with your breathing rate in order to maximize the oxygen intake. So when you breathe in, more oxygen goes to the blood because more blood passes your lungs. When you breathe out, the opposite happens. So it's really to couple the respiratory and the cardio system that you have in your body, to couple these two systems. And that means that you're in coherence. And if you look at the nervous system, you would also see that your nervous system is in balance. So your sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze mode, and the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that calms you down, the rest and digest system, they balance each other. So this whole wonderful mechanism actually in your body starts to come into play when you practice slow breathing exercises, which is amazing actually.
So, when you're using the app, you have this option. By default, it's on, to have a voice guide you on
Mhm.
the experience. And I like that feature. It's so, just so people understand, it's not constant, but it's every so often you'll get this message about how soften your belly or ground with the ground or things like that. And I was wondering how it is you chose that voice, because it's the same voice in the entire app for all the exercises, and it feels to me like that's pretty key to the experience that you've created. How did you choose? What were you looking for in that voice, or was
Uh,
it you?
no, no. It was absolutely not me. Would be me with like a Dutch French accent. No, I wouldn't do that to the people, to the users listening to the app. No, it's a funny question actually. So we're a startup. We're doing everything ourselves, and the lady you hear speaking is one of my yoga teachers who came for a visiting class in Brussels, and she's an opera singer. She lives in San Diego. And I just contacted her. I knew she was an opera singer, and I asked her if she wanted to do the recordings for us. We have a Dutch voice. She's a friend of mine who works at a radio station in Belgium, and we have another German voice who is one of our customers actually. So we're really trying to do everything herself, and so she's a connection.
Okay, well, I approve for whatever
Okay.
that's worth. So I had a question about box breathing, right?
Yes.
Which, if I'm correct, right, that's you breathe in a certain amount of time, then you hold it, and then you exhale over a certain amount of time. So instead of just
Mhm.
breathe in, breathe out, it's a three-step
Mhm.
breathing process. And I haven't used all the modes of the app, but what I've seen is that sometimes it just goes in and out, and then sometimes it'll throw a hold in the middle of it. Am I correct about that?
If you select the box breathing exercise, should also always include a breath hold. So I'm
Oh,
not
no,
sure.
I just do generally I just do what you call a breathing break, and I just set
Yeah,
it for
yeah,
different times, and it
yeah.
seems to kind of shift between non-box breathing and box breathing. Oh, is that okay? Was that not supposed to happen?
You just discovered a bug.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
let me double check that for you. No, but normally you can indeed select different options. And so we
Yeah.
have the balanced breathing one, which is like 5 in, 5 out for 6 breaths per minute. It's typically advised and used during scientific research. And then we have box breathing, so that's a couple seconds in, breath hold, exhale. Then we have a couple exercises where the exhale is longer than the inhale,
Mhm.
and the option to also set your own breathing rhythm. If you know what you like, whether you like a pause or not, whether you like a shorter inhale than exhale, and so on, you can set that.
So one other, and I know Stephanie has a bunch of questions for you too, so I'll stop hogging the mic in
No, it's
one
fine.
second. In 1 second. The way, because I'm not a breathing expert. I mean, I actually literally I have been breathing my whole life. So, but but I am not an expert. But I remember when I was younger and I would do kung fu meditation, that I was always trained to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And it seems like your guidance plans strongly encourage in through the nose and out through the nose. Although you also say out through the mouth is okay if that's what you prefer. And I was just wondering why that is. Why do you encourage in through the nose and out through the nose instead of in through the nose and out through the mouth?
Well, you're right. I don't have a strong opinion on how you breathe out personally. There are a number of coaches that strongly advise to breathe in and out through the nose as much as possible. I myself personally, I'm a bit more okay with both options. Breathing in through the nose is very important though, because you warm up the air, you humidify it, you get all the pollutants out, but you also create nitric oxide when you breathe in, which is a gas that's created through the blood vessels of your nose while breathing in, and it dilates the blood vessels in your lungs. So when you do this, you open the blood vessels in your lung more, and you have more exchange of oxygen in your blood. So breathing in through the nose really makes a whole breathing experience much more efficient for your body. While breathing out, it doesn't have all those things. You don't need to warm the air or clean it from anything leaving your lungs or whatever. You don't create this nitric oxide. So I'm a bit personally, for me, whatever feels most comfortable. But there are a number of coaches. They're called the Buteyko coaches. It's a Russian doctor who invented this theory. They strongly advise to do both through the nose.
That was a really interesting. So I'm finding this whole conversation really interesting. And I love the concept of the device. And I honestly just never really thought about how I just take for granted that I just breathe. It's like, if you don't think about this, but it is a tool, and it's really fascinating to me. And I'd love to get into the benefits of breath work a little bit with you. So you talked about using breath work to help with anxiety and insomnia. What other ways can breath work be used to help improve your wellness?
There are so many ways. So besides stress, which is the most obvious one, and stress-related disorders that I would classify as insomnia and anxiety, we have people that use a Moonbird when they have a depression or a burnout. A lot of people actually. Typically, burnout is something that coaches also like to include Moonbird in their programs to guide people and coach people also when they're at home. We have people suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome. We have people that are training their sports performance, although that I wouldn't say that Moonbird is the ideal breathwork tool for that. There are other ones that train like your lung volume and so on. But Moonbird definitely also has a role to play there, and this is something that we're actually researching at the moment with one of Belgium's well-renowned football teams. Moonbird can be used, or breathing exercise in general can also be used for pain management. We have some physicians using Moonbirds in the hospital for people undergoing local anesthesia. For instance, people who have to place a portacat. I don't know how you pronounce it in English, but like somewhere where you put chemotherapy inside your veins. It's like a small operation on your chest, but people have to be awake, and it's quite anxiety triggering because you see that they're cutting in your chest. And then the doctors give Moonbird in their hand, so they distract their thoughts and breathe with the Moonbird, and at the same time really activate their parasympathetic nervous system to calm them down. We have some dermatologists using Moonbird while they're doing laser treatments, and dentists that give it to people who have a fear of going to the dentist. So a lot of variety of use cases. It's just
Wow, it's really, really fascinating because I, again, just take it all for granted. And it sounds like there's so many different uses. And so my mind is just racing with all sorts of things that, I just haven't really thought about for breath work. And one thing I don't know if I have I guess I have a question brewing, but while you were talking, I wondered about like children or people with behavioral issues. It seems like, especially maybe young people, like very young people, that may be a great because it's tactile. It helps slow them down. Have you used this at all in schools or with children with behavioral issues or young people with behavioral issues?
Yes. I was just about to add actually. So thank you for that question. It's not something that I thought of in the beginning. I don't have children myself yet, but I had people coming back to us saying they bought the Moonbird for themselves, and they was lying on a table, and their children were curious and walking around in the house, and some had to explain it, some even didn't have to explain it, but the children actually like it a lot. because it's a fun element for them as well to do this breathing exercise. We can typically be a bit boring sitting down and just doing these exercises. We don't have like a real profound effect immediately on them. And so the idea of holding a small bird in your hand or in their hands, and they make a small nest with their two hands, and then they feel the moonbird breathing inside their hand, makes it fun for them to do this, and makes it not only tactile, but also something like visual, like there's a story behind this. And then the parents say, okay, and now you sit down for instance, 6 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever you program the moonbird, and you breathe with the little bird in your hands until it's calm itself. And then by the end of the exercise, they're also calm. So this is like something that I didn't think of in advance, but that has come to us, and which I actually really like. And we're investigating this now, like on a bigger scale with parents and children in a setting, and we're taking interviews with them, and so to see how we can maybe do something else for them. And yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. What came to mind is I have a friend who works with her whole job, her entire day is with one child. She spends time with one child, and this young, I think they're like elementary school age, and this child has really hard time dealing with other children. So when he gets really upset, he goes into a dark room. Like they put him in a room with her, and I was just thinking, gosh, that would be a really interesting thing to see about using something like that in like that kind of para educational sector. So I don't know if you've thought about that, but that might be an interesting way to go with the product as well.
Yeah, I absolutely. I hope to do that once on a large scale. I definitely see the added value. And something else that you mentioned that I forgot to say is that a lot of people with autism or ADHD also use the device. Because, and it's another, like the tactile element is quite important
Yeah.
for them as well, because there are too many sensations going on, and then, colors or sounds might be very intense. But this subtle motion, this subtle thing moving in their hand is then something that they can connect with as well. So that's as well another group of people using the
Yeah,
device.
absolutely. I
Mhm.
definitely can see like that tactile element is just so important and
Mhm.
key. I love this product so much. And I haven't used it, but the more we talk about it, and the more I hear about it, I'm like, God, this is really exciting. And there's so many use cases for this. So just kind of stepping back a little bit, what kind of challenges has Moonbird encountered in helping people to slow down and breathe better?
Oh, we as a company, you mean then?
Yeah, just to getting that message out, because we're all just moving so fast and we're doing
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
our culture is, there's constant information coming in. Have you had challenges in getting
Yeah,
people to adopt that sort of, slow down approach?
yeah, and tying right into that, maybe is like, how hard is it to convince people that they need to breathe better?
Yeah.
I mean, to some people, like to me, I know, I've known for years before I even started doing the exercises that I really should be breathing better, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that everyone accepts that
No,
message. So
no,
yeah, what are
absolutely.
some of those challenges?
Well, there are many, and exactly what you just mentioned is a big challenge when it comes to our marketing efforts, at least. So we have a complex marketing funnel, I would say, because we have to first do some education on exactly that, like explain people why they should change their breathing and why that's beneficial to their health. And then there's like the second step of why Moonbird can help with that. So we see that a lot when we're doing our marketing, that a lot of people are like, why should I use something to do something that I'm doing my whole life and that's free? And then they're like, oh, okay. Then you explain everything, and then they're like, okay, right. So changing your breathing rate can definitely impact your health. And then they're like, but why do I use a device then? Can't I just use a free app for it? So it's like we have like multiple points where we need to convert people and convince them actually why Moonbird can be of added value. And I'm actually quite open to that, and quite I get it that people sometimes use a free app or whatever. If that works, then that works. The only thing is that for me, it didn't work when I was really stressed and panicked, and that I then used Moonbird. And I still breathe without Moonbird as well, like the whole day, but
Right.
still.
That's good. Yeah, good
Yeah,
habit to keep up.
good for
Yeah.
me. Um, but I also combine it with like just breathing exercise without and so on. So it's, you have the whole variety, and you just need to find what works for you. And I'm convinced that for some people, Moonbird is super useful, and it can really help them, and that's what they need.
Yeah, I like I said, I entirely agree. And I did not think I would be reacting that way to this product, and I totally agree. Um, Relatedly, or let's say unrelatedly, you call this thing a moonbird. And as you were just talking, you were talking about it in terms of it feeling like a bird, right? So holding a bird. But how did you, is that the, like the design aesthetic was to go after, like, how did you name it Moonbird? Where did this all come from?
So Moonbird was a real bird. I forgot a red knot bird. I forgot the English name, but I remembered it. A red knot, and he had a ring around his feet, and not a paw.
He
Paw is
was
for dogs.
tagged.
He was tagged, exactly. So he was tagged, and people followed him, and they found that in his life he flew the distance. So each year he went from the Terra del Fuego in Argentina to up north in Canada, and they followed him for 17 years. And in total, he flew the distance from the Earth to the Moon and back. And they found that pretty amazing, because he was so old and he flew such a long distance that they baptized him as the Moonbird. He even has a Wikipedia page,
He
and
does.
we just love the name, and he's a signal of vitality and longevity and good health. And the name wasn't taken already, so
That
Right,
helps
you're an IP
also.
lawyer. That's right. Very good. Yeah, no, because when I didn't know what to expect when I got it, and I opened it and I was looking, and I was like, oh, I guess that could be a bird on the moon or
yeah.
something like that. But no, that's a cool story. So whenever we interview people, and I think everyone who's listening knows already that I'm a big fan, and if this is a product that you can afford, I totally recommend getting it. By the way, I should note, it pairs with the phone quickly, but it can easily pair with multiple phones. So you only need one per household, right?
You
So
can share it.
if there's multiple people in the household, you just need one. As long as you're not using it at the same time, it's no problem. But for those who maybe are thinking about getting a Moonbird or who aren't able to get a Moonbird, is there something specific, like one or two pieces of advice that you could give people that they could start benefiting from perhaps a more conscious approach to breathing or stress management?
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite exercise, and you actually don't need a Moonbird for that, is you close your eyes and you start focusing on your breath for a couple of seconds, maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and you just check in with your breath. Like, how's your breath at that moment? Is it faster? Is it lower, slower than normally? And once you do that multiple times, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll start to understand when your breathing rate is off. And then if you're able to, you just start lowering your breathing rate to around 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. You open your posture, so you try to make space to breathe as well. You point your shoulder blades towards each other, and you try to breathe as much as possible through your belly, envisioning that there's a balloon in your belly, and you inflate it with the inhale and deflate it with the exhale. And if you combine those things for just a couple of seconds, but preferably 1 or 2 minutes, it will already give you like a boost and just calm yourself down and connect you with yourself and the moment. And I try to incorporate that small exercise when I have like dead moments in the day, when I'm waiting in a queue or when I'm putting gas in my car, whatever. I don't know what to do, and I'm just checking in with myself, and I do this exercise, and it helps me a lot.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And that'll also make a great little shareable video clip too. So I like that. Stefanie, where would you like people to, our listeners, to connect with you?
People can follow us on Instagram. People can go to our website to find more information about Moonbird. We regularly post things on our blog post as well around breathwork, the science behind it, the research we do, the people we work with. We try to put like our coaches in the spotlight as well. And our LinkedIn page. We want to set up a YouTube channel and things like that, but it's not there yet. So probably, Instagram and our own website is the most important one.
So the URL is moonbird.life, and we'll have that in the show notes. And your
Yes.
Instagram handle is also moonbird.life, and we'll have that in the show notes as well. And
Exactly.
I'm more than happy to give you a copy of this video when it's done, so you can inaugurate your own YouTube channel. So, Stefanie, this has been a real, I mean, I always say it, and it always is a pleasure talking with people, but I was so excited to get a chance to speak with you because I really am super impressed with what you and your team have created. And I wish you the best of luck in helping the world to breathe, which is it's an incredibly important goal. And thank you so much for taking the time today to come join us on the Healthier Tech
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me, because this helps me to spread the mission as well, because I can reach more people with this mission. It's not about selling the Moonbirds, it's about getting the mission out there. So thank you for inviting me a lot.
No, thank you.
It's been great having you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthier Tech Podcast. Remember to check the show notes for all the links and resources mentioned in the show. Please like and subscribe to the Healthier Tech Podcast on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. Get your free quick start guide to building a healthier relationship with technology and our latest information at healthiertech.co.